Hi friends, Kansi here from Atop Serenity Hill, and this video is meant to accompany the printable journals that I have for sale on Etsy and give you 5 easy ways to think about binding them together for yourself. Obviously, there's many ways that you can do that, and you can add them to your journals as just individual pages and rip them up and add them to junk journals, but I wanted to give you a few ways of putting them together to use as is, just when you print them. So this would be one of the ones that I have, and the way that I have them set up is that everything comes with a cover. So, it folds in half, obviously. Comes with a cover. Most of them, and I'm using this video as a general overall how to bind the journals, because it starts with just a few journals like on Etsy, but I'm adding to them as I go. So some will have blank pages, some won't, some will have multiple pages, some will have, some will have like 6 or 8 designs, some will have 12. It just depends. So this is just a overall version of that. So again, they have a cover. Most of them will have a blank lined version, and then they usually have about 6 different designs in them, and you can see the ones that are here. Okay, and then this is the blank, and most of them are designed so that if you have this sheet, you also have one where this is on this side and this is on this side. So I flip them so that depending on if you wanted this to be on this side of the paper or if you wanted it to be on this side of the paper when you fold it, it gives you options. Like, there's so many different configurations. So I have one, and I'm going to show you all the designs that are currently, as I have a few designs that are available right this second if you're watching this in real time, the video, and not in the future. But this is one that I had bound already. So obviously, depending on your printer, you're going to have to cut off some kind of white around the outside, and you can print them on whatever paper you like. I chose to print the cover on cardstock, so it's just a little bit sturdier, and then all the inside pages are done on just regular printer paper, double-sided. So this is one that I did, and this would be the first way of binding it, which is just to use a stapler. I used a long arm stapler, boop, and put the pages together, and then just stapled 3 staples, 1, 2, 3, through it and folded it. Okay, and so since I have this out, I'm going to just do a little run through. So I had this for July and August as a journal, and it was a combination of a junk journal and a writing journal. You can see, let me flip this over. This is the way that the cover was, and I just started embellishing it with stamps and some collage elements. And I wanted it to be the type of journal that you really could do anything with. It could be, a commonplace journal or just a collage journal. It could just be for writing, where you had some pretty designs on a page, but all you did was write in it. It can be an art journal. I wanted it to be a combination of anything you wanted. I also wanted it to be something small and easy to put together that didn't feel overwhelming. So you could put one of these together for a month. You could put as many pages in it. It could be a daily journal where you had a page for every month. As you can see, I didn't have a ton of pages in this, but I ended up spreading it out over a 2-month period because I was just dipping in and out of it for the time period. So what I really recommend with journaling is, if it overwhelms you, is to start small. This is small-ish, using simple supplies and in short amounts of time. So if you were to just print a few pages, like maybe 6 of the pages, excuse the language, a few of the pages, and then just have it for that month, it doesn't feel so precious. It's just paper that you printed out. It doesn't feel overwhelming. So it's a, you know, a small journal in that it's not a big written journal you bought, which has, you know, like 100 pages in it. You could have one for every month if that's what you wanted. You know, and it can be as big or small as you want it to be. All right. So binding number 1 is staples. Okay. And then binding number 2 is going to be done the same way in that I'm going to just fold it. It's a cover stock page. And then I ended up just printing 3 pages. Okay. Double-sided. And I'll probably, instead of having this in the center, I always like to have, you know, what would be fun to have as my center. Probably this one. And then I'll just rearrange it. That's one of the fun things about this. Like, you know, how can you, maybe the tree would be fun. The tree would be fun in the center. So I like to say, well, what's it going to look like? You know, I like that. I like these two together. I like the tree. Then I got a blank page. I've got my big tree as my center. You know, that's a little simple, but then I have lots of space to add. And then, you know, again, simple. So you can decide like how busy or how simple, you know, less embellished you want each page. So I'm going to cut this off. I'm going to fold it, and then I'm going to run it through my sewing machine. And I'll be back and show you what that looks like after I've bound it. All right, so by the way, this design is called Misty Forest, in case you go looking for it. So I just ran the whole thing straight stitched through my sewing machine, and now I have a journal that I can use. There are, if I did 3 pages plus the cover, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14. So if you did a page a day, it would be 2 weeks. If you're more of a daily-ish journaler, then, you know, this would be great for a month. You could do a half a page every day and dip in and out of it. So it's a great size. And again, so number 2 binding is just to run that puppy through your sewing machine, okay? And you can leave the threads or not. This is also a time that you can add a second color. I ended up using this gorgeous burgundy that, you can see it there. But I know there's threads that are like rainbow colored, so you could even run that through it, all right? All right, so number 2, we've got that one. So number 3, I'm pulling in the Rainbow Marks design for it, and this is the cover. I haven't cut it yet for a reason. And so the way this one works is, I don't think I have it in order. Let me do it in order. Yellow, because I did this one as a rainbow. Okay, obviously Rainbow Marks is the name of it. So it starts with pink, orange, so pink, orange, yellow, green, blue, and purple. And the good thing about this is that it really doesn't matter which way you put it, all right? I only printed these as, and you know, I can because I made them, I can tell if there's an up or down, but you know, honestly, there really isn't up or down. The way I printed these is I printed these just on one side, okay? And there is a blank page to this one, which I printed on the back of the cover. So there is just a blank, always a blank, just in case you like to throw in some just lined paper. And so what I'm gonna do with this one is, because I printed it only on one side, after I fold it, let me fold it here. And these are, none of these binding methods are, you know, crazy, like, oh my God, you invented a new binding method. Not even close, okay? These are all things that I use in my art journaling practice and making junk journals. Nothing is new. It's just a matter of me compiling 5 of them for you, okay? So this one is more of a stacked journal And I might not have cut the pages wonderfully, but the way we're going to find that out is when we glue them together. So you take each one, so this is one page, and then I'm going to grab the orange one, and I'm going to glue these two pages together. That way they're flat. They're not like this one, you know, one side of one page and one side of another are together. With this one, you always have whatever the design is across the entire page. Okay, so you open one, you glue the back of one to the front of the next, and then you keep doing that. Okay, so let me fold my yellow sheet here. And you can use, depending on the paper that you're using, this is just copy paper. I'm going to end up using a glue stick with this, but you could use, you know, if it's a thicker paper, you might want to use like a matte gel medium, something thicker, maybe some Mod Podge, so that it, you know, if you printed it on a like a cardstock, or even if you can get mixed media paper through your printer, you might want to do that. So we're going to fold, attach, attach. All right, so that's what I'm going to do next, and then I'm going to show you how I would attach the cover, and we will go from there. Okay, so all the pages are glued, and of course I'm starting with pink or red. You can start with whatever color of the rainbow you prefer, okay? And green, blue, and purple. Now, then I have my cover. I haven't trimmed my cover yet, so you're going to, I want to see okay, let me trim the cover. Okay, so the next thing I want to do is, because the way this one works, you end up with about, I would say, 1/16 of an inch, because I've glued all the pages together, and it's going to kind of depend. Yeah, maybe 1/8 of an inch. It's going to depend on how thick your copy paper is, but it does have a bit of thickness to it. So I don't want to just fold this in half. And it is at just at 11. This is your cover. I want to give it a tiny bit of a gusset in the middle. So I can actually see for mine, it's, oops, you cannot see that. It's not all the way at 11 because I had to cut off some. So it's actually at 1/8 over 10.5. So I would like to have a 1/8 of an inch gusset down the center, a spine. So I'm going to do 5 1/4 and then go over 1/8 and score that as well. Okay. And let's, once I have this, I might end up having to cut the journal itself down a little bit in width, and I'll show you what I mean. So this, you know, it is definitely easier to just sew it or put a staple in it for sure. But sometimes, you know, and then again, you have the choice of what's more fun as the cover for you. Okay, so this just gives it a bit more of a book feel. But you can see that I need to cut the book down a little bit. So it's gonna, everything depends on your printer, how your printer works, how you end up putting the book together. So I'm going to get out an X-Acto knife and I'm going to trim down a little bit on the bottom. Okay, trim down a little bit on the bottom, and then I'm going to trim off that, and that way it will fit perfectly in this book. Okay, so let me grab my knife. All right, so I want to trim a tiny bit. There's my metal ruler. And again, it doesn't have to be perfect. If this, if you don't mind the pages sticking out, leave them out. It's all good. Okay, and then I'm going to tuck this back in here again and see. I'm going to actually cut it while it's in the book, in the cover. Okay. Okay, so now it's all aligned at the bottom. You don't lose any design because you're just trimming off such a little amount. And then I want to put glue here and on the back, but not on the spine, okay? Because you want to have the book have the spine to have some flexibility. Whoops. Double-sided tape might work for this as well, if that's what you want to use, or like a tape runner. Again, these are not meant to be precious. That's not the point of them. The point is to have something to work in that's not boring. I love things that are, have some color to them. As a visual artist, it helps immensely not to go to a blank white page. So that's why I'm doing this, so that, you can see this isn't high level bookbinding. This is down and dirty bookbinding, people, down and dirty. And actually, now that I've noticed the page, the blank page on the inside of the cover isn't mattering. I wasn't sure how I was binding these, so that's why I printed it. But in the end, it didn't matter. Okay. So now I have my rainbow journal that I can work in for the time, for however long that you want it. Okay. So that's bookbinding number 3, stacking the pages. All right. So the bookbinding idea for number 4 is to do it with a pamphlet stitch, which is to actually bind it together with a needle and some wax thread, or you could just use some embroidery floss, whatever you have. I just happen to have some wax linen, some white wax linen. So this design is called Aquatic Paradise. And let me start with, this is the cover, because the cover always gives you an idea. And then our blank page. And then we have, these are the designs, which you can see that I've cut it so straight. So I might have to fix that. But these are the designs. And again, it comes where it can be flipped so that you can print it so that this is on this side, this is on this side. Okay, so for this one, we're going to fold it the same way we did the stapling and the sewing. I was like, there's another S word there. Stitching. So sewing, stitching, and stapling. 3 S's. And then we're going to pamphlet stitch it together. So let me get it all folded and ready to go. Okay, so everything's folded, and you can look at, how when you're doing it this way, again, the designs from each page kind of show up randomly. I chose the turtle as the center. And you can, if you fall in love with one of the pages, you can print as many of that page as you want. All right, so you need a couple binder clips. So we're gonna clip it. Once you have all the pages where you want them to be, I'm gonna clip it so it won't come apart. And then you're gonna use an awl, or I just call it the pokey tool because mine's not a specific awl. And I'm gonna poke 3 holes. So one through the center-ish, and you can see how I am marking this, measuring. No, I'm not. Doesn't matter to me. So I've got 1 hole, and then I'm gonna do one about 1.5 inches from the top. And I'm actually, I was using the lines as guides, okay? So we got 3 holes. I'm gonna grab my string, and you wanna measure about, I tend to go like about, a generous 2 height of whatever your book is. All right, and then we're gonna thread our needle. Okay. And then you can decide, do you want to have the knot on the outside or do you prefer it on the inside? For this one, I'm gonna go on the inside because that's traditionally how I go. So I go through the outside, from the inside out, leave a nice tail, okay? Then I go top or bottom, you choose, in through one side, pull it tight, cross, out through the other, pull it tight, and then in back through the center, but you want to come up, you'll see this is on one side, and I would like to aim for the other side. Okay, so that you have 1 string on each side. And then before you tie it off, just make sure it's nice and tight. Or I should say taut, not tight, because tight you don't want to rip the paper. And then I just make a double knot. And trim my edges. So you can see if you used some colored embroidery thread, I'm trying not to lose my needles, I keep losing the needles. You could start this on the outside and then tie it in like a bow, and then you maybe could put a dangle or a charm or some beads on it. Okay, so this would be more of a traditional bookbinding, and the same idea, it lies flat. Okay, and so pamphlet stitching it would also be another way of binding your book. So that would be number 4. All right, let's get ourselves ready for number 5. All right, so number 5 is to create a kind of traveler's notebook, so that instead of binding the pages would just be loose and you could pull them in and out in case you are the type of art journaler or writing journal or however you plan to use it, where you like to just work on them loose. Okay, so before I cut anything, I wanted to walk through what I was doing, but I printed the cover. This one is called Vintage Botanical, and this is the cover, and the cover I printed as far out on the piece of paper, just a piece of copy paper, as I could, and then I printed the inside sheets, the ones that I wanted as my inside, at a smaller amount so that they would be able to, when I put a traveler's notebook has an elastic, which I'm going to show you in it, I would be able to slide this through. So I wanted these sheets to be definitely smaller and shorter than my cover. So I have a piece of watercolor paper here, that's going to be my cover, and I'm going to adhere this to it. So I'm going to trim these down off camera, and I'm going to adhere this piece of paper to the watercolor paper. I'm going to use double-sided tape, I think, for this one. And I'm going to test it out for y'all because that's the way, you know, it's always good. But you use whatever, matte medium, a glue stick, you know, Mod Podge, or tape runner, whatever works, you think will work, you use, all right? But I'm going to do that, and then we'll meet back here. Okay, so I adhered my cover onto the watercolor paper, and you could have I could have added the blank or another sheet on the back, but I've chosen not to do that for right now. And then I'm going to score it. All right, so I have to check where I am. I'm at 10 and 5/8, and I want to score it so I have enough of a space to be able to put a grommet on it, okay? So, and again, it depends, you're gonna kind of have to find your sweet spot. You can see where I double scored it because my scoring moved. Now, I leave all that stuff here in my videos because it happens, people. Your hand slips. That's, you know, that's the nature of creating. And if I did it perfectly, then you might think if you messed up, only you messed up. And guess what? I mess up. I don't even think I have this measured correctly. I do not. Okay, leaving this in too. I'm leaving this in too. I did not measure correctly. I did not find the half point. I found it off to the side. So here's how I'm going to deal with that. I'm going to trim it. So let me trim that and I'll be right back. Okay, so I trimmed off a smidge so that now my cover, because I didn't measure right, is now correct. But you can also see that the paper fits inside the cover, all right, so that it can slide into what I'm about to do. So I'm going to put I have my little grommet memory keeper here. So I put my eyelets in with my Crop-A-Doll, and the camera's not rolling, so, but I think you'll be okay. And then I'm just going to use some elastic, and actually I'm going to go through the in, through the out, and then I would like enough scissors and I'm gonna knot it, okay? So it's fairly taut, and you could swing it. This might be something fun to just put up at the top, and then it could even be on the outside. Again, you could add some beads or a charm or something to it. I'm just going to chop it short, okay, and just leave it at the top, kind of like that. So now you have the ability to just take your pages and tuck them under, and that way you can put as many pages in as you want. You can pull them in and out should you wish, it doesn't matter. And then you could even pick one as a cover, and then you could choose you know, a different one or some blank paper to have in this, and you have a traveler's notebook that, there you go, you put as many in as you want. Okay, so we have our traveler's style. This one is, and this design of the printable journals, the digital journals, is the vintage botanical. We have our pamphlet stitch one here, done with the white wax linen, and this one is aquatic paradise. There'll be more available, obviously, but these are what I'm doing as the samples. Then this is our stacked journal, done with rainbow marks. Okay, boop, boop, boop. Love that. Then we have our Misty Forest, and I did that one with my sewing machine and with the stapler. Okay, so 5 easy ways to just bind any printable journals that you might be able to find online. My Etsy store is below, so that if you would like to grab these, you can. And if you would like to stay up to date on when I put out new ones, please sign up for my email newsletter. The link will be below as well. And I cannot wait to see how you use them. Thanks so much, friends.